Hey everyone, welcome to the newest episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. Today's guest is an indie pop singer-songwriter, producer, and multi-instrumentalist. He went to the Clive Institute at NYU for recording music, and he played in a band with Maggie Rogers. He's got a new EP out right now called A Version of You That Doesn't Exist, and I'm incredibly excited to have him on the podcast today. Please welcome Ursae. Yeah, Andy Campbell, aka Ursae. How are you doing? Thanks for joining me today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. How you living?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited to be talking to you. I've been listening to your EP, A Version of You That Doesn't Exist, which came out October 30th, and it's so awesome, man. I've probably listened to it maybe 6 or 7 times within the last couple of days, like front to back, and
Wow.
I love the cohesion of it. I feel like it's such a great EP. And I just wanted to ask you about the writing and the recording process of that. Like, how did you start most of these songs, and where did you record them? Is it in your home studio here?
Totally. Yeah, that's right. My home studio, just my bedroom here. Just a really simple kind of Pro Tools setup with a little interface, and I got my mic and really minimal amount of gear involved, to be honest. Didn't really use a whole lot of outboard gear or anything. I have my one channel strip, and that's kind of just it. Yeah, it's funny. So this project started about a year ago, a little over a year ago, and my friend's band wanted me to do a remix of one of their songs. So I started working on that, and like I had been checking out a lot of music that my older brother was into when we were a lot younger, kind of like before I was really listening to music, but he was in middle school, and he was kind of listening to like Third Eye Blind and Oasis and Supersonic and these kind of like 90s, early 2000s, like alt rock kind of bands. And so I was just like really feeling that. And so I was working on this remix for my friends that they did not end up liking, but I was really stoked about it. This like cool kind of like alt rock kind of beat that I made, and I wanted to keep it. I wanted to use it for something. So that beat turned into the first single, which is Shores.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, I ended up kind of just taking the same chords and the same kind of beat and guitar part that I made, and just like wrote a different song on top of it. And so yeah, we kind of spun it as like a little co-write, we kind of wrote it together. But yeah, that's how that one started. And then yeah, I was just like feeling really inspired by that, and like really feeling that momentum, and really stoked about this kind of sounds that I had begun to dig up from like, I don't know, it was just very nostalgic for me, like very early childhood, like really reminded me of like a lot of the first music that I ever listened to in my life. And so yeah, I just like kept the ball rolling and was really vibing on this like alt rock kind of vibe, and yeah, kept doing that.
So when you wrote Shores, which was the first one you said, right?
Hmm.
Did it feel like kind of like striking oil, like all of a sudden this inspiration came out of nowhere and that led to the rest of the songs, or were the other ones kind of like their own experience as well?
I guess both. Yeah, I think Cheerleader was the next one that I did, and that one ended up being the second single, and that was another one that was really yeah, kind of alt rock inspired. But yeah, I was like really stoked about, yeah, just the guitar sound and like the anthemic kind of nature of it, and the way that like kind of like more modern kind of pop or R&B production style around it that kind of fit into that. And yeah, I was like really stoked on that. It kind of reminded me of like some of Brockhampton's earlier stuff. So like I was listening to like a lot of
Cheerleader?
Brockhampton, Cheerleader and Shores, and like a couple other, yeah, random moments on the record. Ghost Bike 2 is another one.
That's interesting because I never thought of Brockhampton, although now that you say it, I think it's kind of, I hear it a lot in the drums. But when I was listening to Cheerleader, it gave me like a modern George Harrison vibe. It sounds
Oh,
like something
interesting.
that would be like on All Things Must Pass.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Totally.
Just kind of has that, like his guitar, like the acoustic guitar sound that like drives everything. and these lush vocals. The chorus, I don't know what you're doing with your vocals, man, but they're awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's just like a little simple harmony part. Yeah, the guitar is like the main thing. I really like I was excited to play more guitar on this EP than I had in the past, and I felt like I was in this rut of like making music like in a computer and like not in my body anymore. You know what I mean? Like I was losing some of my chops. I was like losing like the feeling, like the joy of like playing music in my body. And so that was the other great thing about making this EP was like it really felt like a return to form in that way, and just playing more guitar and just like having it exist in my body and kind of move through it. And so yeah, that was another really great part of this too.
Did it feel like riding a bike when you got back into it, where you could just pick it back up, or was there some like, some moments of like, oh, I'm a little rusty?
It was rusty for sure. It took some relearning
Mainly on guitar, or what instruments?
on guitar and on bass. Well, it's funny. My primary instrument for a long time was actually drums. And I have completely lost that. I completely have like forgotten how to play drum, which is really sad. I was like a jazz drum major for a couple of years.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, and then I like started producing and making beats instead, and like programming all my drums. And so there's some live drums on the record, but most of it is programmed.
I'm sure that like experience though adds a unique perspective to when you're actually using drum machines, as opposed to somebody who just uses them because they don't know how to play drums. It's like you've already gone through all of that with jazz too, which is even crazier. That's even
Right.
extra level. So to bring that complexity into a simple drum groove is actually, I would imagine, kind of interesting.
Yeah, it lends itself to a real like kind of intuition and instinct, I think, for like what drum parts should be. Like I know how to kind of mimic the melody in certain places where it needs it, or to mimic the harmonic rhythm in certain places, just like where to put the accents or the hi-hats or whatever. Yeah, it's helpful for sure. But I can't really play drums anymore to save my life,
Hey, man, I
ironically.
kind of feel that now that I moved to LA, I can't play like in my apartment at all. So I just have this drum set, and that was my go-to instrument for most bands I've ever played in. I was always drums, sometimes bass,
Same.
but usually drums. So it's weird to be like, to not play drums ever. Like I haven't played in so long. It
That was
sucks.
my experience too. I lived in New York and I just like couldn't play in my apartment anymore, and just lost it that way. Where were you living before LA?
Atlanta. I grew up in Atlanta.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, and then I moved out to LA after I graduated high school, actually for acting.
Oh, wow.
And music has become more and more important in my life over time. And this podcast, I thought about, like, I never thought I would do this, but it kind of was a nice marriage of like acting and talking with people and being on screen, plus stuff I like, music, and being able to talk with anybody about music, and to talk with people like talented artists like you. And I learn from you guys, and you guys and people who listen get to learn from you as well. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a two-way street. I've really enjoyed listening to the pod. And wait, well, let's hang on a second, because you've got some amazing music as well. I wouldn't have guessed that you would like switch tracks into that.
Oh, damn. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. That's very kind. I'm glad you checked it out.
Yeah, what's the song? Silver
Silver
what?
Words.
Silver Words.
I put that out September 25th. So it's been a couple months.
Yeah, that's great. Congrats on that. Cool video too.
Hey, thank you. Shout out Austin Digg. He directed it. And he directed my other video, Always, Always. I don't know if you listen to that one, but that is
Yeah.
like, put that out a year ago. But yeah, New Beat Fund, which was a On That Note guest, like
Mhm.
15 episodes ago, they helped produce Silver Words and Always, Always.
Oh,
They're good friends
cool.
of mine, and they've really like, they take my shit to a different level. Like I think that's so helpful to have people in your life who can really like, who are cool guys or girls, and
Yeah.
really want to help you and see you succeed. And they've done that. It's been very helpful.
The right team is so essential, whether it's like knowing a friend who like does video or photo, or even if it's just like a homie who you can like show your demos to and they can like give you their, their feedback about it. Like that's so important to have people who you love and trust around you while you're manifesting your art into the world. I mean, it's so, I would not be where I am without my friends steering me in the right direction, for sure.
Yeah, so you do most of it yourself when you're writing and recording your EP, right?
Yeah.
Is there any outside, perspective coming in that helps you out in certain ways?
Yeah, a couple of my closest friends, like I'll send my music to just to kind of get like feedback, but I mean creatively, yeah, like I'm really, it's really a one person brain trust for the most part. My previous EP, I worked with a co-producer, and I had an awesome experience doing that. This guy, Jeremy McDonald, out in Brooklyn, when I was still living there. But yeah, this was just a really different experience for me than that. It was the first time I had produced my own music in kind of a long time, and I mean, kind of was partly by necessity because a lot of it I was finishing during the pandemic once that had started. I feel like I have kind of a good system figured out where I can, pour as much of myself into the music and then kind of share it with my closest friends. And luckily they're very, very honest people with very good taste. So yeah, they help me steer me in the right direction for sure.
Very important to have people that you feel comfortable sending demos to that will give you their honest advice, but they also know, you don't have to take it either. Like,
yeah,
it's a two-way street there of trust.
There's definitely some advice that I like straight up just ignored. Like one of my closest friends, Grace, insisted that the vocals on Ghost Bike being pitched down was like really weird and like didn't really work for her. And it's like, there's certain things where it's like, yeah, that's like really helpful. Thank you for the feedback. And then there's certain things where it's like, word, okay, I respect your opinion, but yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I think it's sick.
Yeah, it's a
balance.
You can't be fragile. You have to be able to take that, whether it's criticism or whether it's somebody rejecting your criticism, and be graceful about it. Don't be a dick,
Luckily, a childhood, of being consistently bullied has given me a pretty thick skin. So
there you go. Yeah.
I feel blessed to be pretty good at taking criticism in that way.
Well, hey, that builds up strength,
Yeah, definitely. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Exactly. That's what Kelly Clarkson says.
That's true. Shout out to Kelly.
Shout out. So you mentioned earlier you were in New York. I looked up that you went to NYU Clive Davis Institute. That must have been a pretty interesting experience. What was that like?
It was cool. It was really thrilling, honestly. Like every single day there was like some of the most fun I've ever had in my life. It's so cool. The teachers there are so knowledgeable and they all have, so much experience with like making music, like being in the studio, like the kind of shit that I want to do, that I like love doing. Can I swear?
Yeah.
Okay,
totally.
Cool. I don't want to blow your spot up.
Yeah, do not worry about it at all.
Yeah, it was great, and just it really felt like the first time I was surrounded by people who were like me. Because even at what happened was I was at the New School for Jazz as a drum major for a couple of years, and then I transferred to NYU for the recording program. And even in the jazz program before, like surrounded by other musicians, like I didn't really quite feel at home. I didn't really quite feel like there were people around me who like really got what I was trying to do, like to be an artist producer. Like all my advisors were kind of shitting on me, like, okay, well, like, that's not really realistic, or, shit like that. Like, I don't know.
Why didn't they think it was realistic? Because you wanted to do it for yourself, or like, how are they?
Because I don't know. Yeah, they're all just kind of a bunch of old heads who, if it's not swing, then it's not like real music, which, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't personally agree with, but they're welcome to their opinions, I suppose. Yeah, no, Clive was a really, really wonderful environment. I miss it every single day. Like getting to go to class and it's like your classroom is this like super nice studio. I'm probably never going to make music in a studio that nice ever again.
It doesn't seem like we'll need to anymore. It feels like
that's the thing. It's so much more consumer friendly than it's ever been. Like Well, a bunch of the major studios in New York are closing. I'm sure it's the same in LA, but like with the increasing real estate prices and the more readily available consumer recording gear, it's like I don't know. Yeah, like
Hmm.
Billie Eilish has like won Grammys from shit that she made in her bedroom. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. You
I
see
saw a
that?
really. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I saw her and Phineas's like bedroom studio that they recorded their multi Grammy winning album in, and it's like this tiny little, almost not a cupboard, but it's a small space like in the side of the house.
Yeah, it's like a laptop and an interface, and
Hmm.
that's really all you need. I was gonna say I saw a really funny tweet from Phineas a while ago that was like, every time I work in like a major, big recording studio, takes him like an hour to find the aux cord or to make the aux cord work or some shit like that, and it's like that's the kind of shit I don't miss. Like really complicated patch bays and like how to get all the gear together. It's like I can do it, but it's time consuming, and I would rather just like open up a session on my computer and get moving.
I remember thinking like how sick it would be to be in a huge studio and controlling all the knobs. And I apologize to everybody listening. There's definitely construction going on in the apartment next to me, so please bear with me if you hear buzzsaws
Oh, I can't even hear it.
and hammering. Yeah, this mic will definitely pick it up, so I apologize. But anyway, I was just saying about how like if I was just plopped into a huge recording studio like I always wanted to be, I wouldn't even know where to start. Like it's so much easier to and more comfortable to be in your own bedroom or some room in your house and being able to just like be yourself and take your time and not worry about paying hourly for like an engineer who you don't really know to
Yeah,
kind of do your shit for you.
that too. It's almost like buying toothpaste. It's like the amount of choice is so overwhelming that you don't even know which one to buy. You don't even know what to do. And there's really something to be said for like having a limitation on what kind of choices you can make. Like I think that having a more limited amount of gear can kind of help define what your sound is. Like I read this essay a while ago about Bon Iver for Emma Forever Ago. That first album he made, it sounds the way it does because he only had one microphone. He recorded the entire thing with an SM57. Like all the vocals, all the guitars, all the drums. And I think there were some like horn overdubs that had some different kind of mics, but like the vast majority of that album has the one microphone. And so because of that, it has a really distinct kind of like sonic flavor. And that's just a limitation that is really a blessing in disguise. Like that's such a huge part of the album is the character.
Yeah. And how many people do you know would be like, we can't record an album, we only have one mic?
Yeah, so many people get caught up on that shit.
Yeah, it's like
It's too bad.
use the limitations you have and they can be a blessing.
Definitely.
All right. Well, that's going to take us over to the last five. I'm just going to ask you five quick questions and then we'll be out
All
of here,
right.
man.
Cool.
All right. Number one, I think you said it earlier. The question is Logic or Ableton, but you said Pro Tools.
Pro Tools.
Interesting. I don't think I've had any Pro Tools people on here. Maybe one.
A lot of people don't like Pro Tools, and I completely understand. And it's made for people who like have experience working in a studio because it's kind of modeled after a real studio. So like,
Okay.
I completely get that it's not an intuitive choice for people. I totally respect that. So yeah, I'm a Pro Tools guy through and through.
So it's pretty good if you're already used to being in like a big studio environment, you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting. Because I always wondered, like, why the fuck would somebody want to use Pro Tools? I've seen it. I'm like, that looks so, like, archaic to me. I don't know. But
Yeah, the user interface is not very current, but yeah, it's solid. It's a workhorse. I love Pro Tools. I kind of want to get Pro Tools tatted across my knuckles.
would it be, I guess that would be enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
eight letters. It doesn't really fit, like,
Yeah, it
the
wouldn't
two
exactly.
words would not be evenly across the two hands, but
Yeah.
I think it'd be hard.
I think it would be hard. Maybe you'll get a sponsorship.
I would love that. Avid, hit me up.
Yeah, come on. All right. Question number two. What's your favorite decade of music?
Oh fuck, that's a tough question. There's a very specific zone at the end of the 2000s. Like, I love late 2000s indie folk. Like, that's the music I really came up on. And when I first started making music, I was listening to a lot of Fleet Foxes and Grizzly Bear, some Feist,
Mm.
just all that stuff. I love indie folk. I love that. When I first moved to New York, I was playing in an indie folk band. That was kind of in like 2011, and I mean, there's real. I can't wait for that to come back in like 10 or 20 years, and then I'll come back with a really dope indie folk album, and
There you go.
that's when you'll start seeing me everywhere.
I think you need to just start the trend again,
I
Dude,
think so.
Fleet Foxes are back. I mean, they came back,
Fleet Foxes are so back. They came back hard. Oh my god. I was just listening to that record today. I love so many of those songs on that album. Can I Believe You? Long Way Past the Past. Oh my god.
I'm ashamed to say I haven't listened to either of the new two albums. I just know I'm just happy that they're back, but I just haven't listened to it, and don't crucify me. But help, I mean, what's the first one on vinyl?
Oh, the is it self-titled? No, it has a name.
I think it does. I don't know, maybe it is self-titled.
I'm really embarrassing myself right now. I ought to know. Helplessness Blues, I think is my favorite one. That's a really good one.
I think people say that one's the best. But I do like the first one. But I can't. It's such a, what do you call it? It sets the mood in a certain way for me that I can't listen to it all the time. It's like,
oh yeah,
very like fall weather with a scarf on. Like,
yes, yes. I'm very about that. I'm very about like seasonal music. Like and summertime is like Mac DeMarco and Modest Mouse, and then like wintertime is, James Blake. And
James Blake is winter music, dude. He really is.
Right? Yeah. It's fun. My girlfriend and I have been talking about Fleet Foxes a lot because we both really like Father John Misty.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to be Fleet Fox's drummer.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
It's interesting watching different live videos of the same song performed by the different drummers, and like Father John is so just like laid back and like relaxed and just groovy and like, oh, like whatever, I'll let the beats fall where they may. And then the new guy's like really tight and like really on the beat, and it's just so like, it's so black and white and interesting and weird. Neither is better or worse, but they're like, it's interesting to see side by side.
That is interesting. Father John Misty is sick. I got to see him live a couple of times. He's just like such a free spirit, and he seems like such a loving, groovy guy.
It makes me laugh sometimes. Like, he must have hated being in Fleet Foxes because he's such a cynic, and that music is so earnest.
Yeah.
I could just see him like rolling his eyes, like listening back.
That's so funny. I never even thought of that. You're probably right, because it is so much more like poetry. Not that his isn't, but his is like, it's more of like, cynical
it's so
and sarcastic
and
yeah,
it's so sad, some of it.
It hits that spot for you though, like that super cynical, nihilistic, making fun of the powers that be.
Sometimes you just got to hear it. Sometimes you just got to have that energy.
Got to get it out. So what's on your musical rotation right now?
Let's see. I've been loving to death the new Adrienne Lenker album.
I've heard of it. I haven't listened to it yet, though.
Oh, man. It's really like, it's been making me feel some of the most intense emotions I think I've ever felt listening to music.
Whoa.
Yeah, there's this song, Anything, that is just so like beautiful and poignant and sweet. Yeah, my girlfriend and I have been really loving that.
Adrienne Lenker?
Yeah, she's the singer from Big Thief.
Oh, I mean, I know the band, but I didn't really get into them.
Yeah, I didn't like them at first either. They're kind of an acquired taste. You kind of have to... I think it's another band. You kind of have to be in the right mood to listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been a while. I don't even remember what they sounded like. I just remember trying it out and people were really digging it. I was like, yeah, I mean, I didn't really it didn't fit me exactly.
I kind of respond more to her solo music than I do to Big Thief. So yeah, you might find that you really enjoy that as well.
I saw Fantano gave it a pretty good review, so I was like, all right, well then I'll check it out.
Fucking Fantano. Oh my God.
I love that guy. I really do. I know people hate him.
I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I do too. I mean, he really gets his audience. I think he has a good relationship with his audience, which is always nice to see.
I don't know why people are embarrassed. I mean, like, I think
I don't know either.
I think he's fucking funny. Like, you don't have to love every single one of his reviews. There's a lot of things that I'm like, I don't understand why you would give that a bad rating and give this a good rating. But I do think when he explains it, especially if it's an album I love and then he shits on it, but he explains it, I'm like, oh, he's kind of right though. Like,
Yeah.
and it doesn't ruin my enjoyment, you know? Like, I feel like I don't understand if people like get actually really mad at him. I mean, I think he's on some other shit. Like, he brought, who's going to bring album reviews into like the forefront of a lot of people's lives nowadays? This guy's doing it.
I had this professor at Clive Davis at NYU named Robert Christgau, who is he's an older head. He was the first music critic to write about rock and roll in a way that like interpreted it as high art. So like he got to hang out with like Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin, and you know was really like kind of a pioneering music critic, and he has strong opinions on things for sure. So I kind of had a hard time with him as a teacher, but there was kind of a funny video where he wrote a letter to Fantano and gave his opinion on Fantano's style of reviews, and kind of just shat on him, and kind of was like, I don't get it. Like, it's not for me. Like, I don't get videos. I don't get YouTube. I don't get any of it. Also, you have like really whack taste in music and like don't have any sense of fun or whatever. And it was kind of funny to see.
And then, you know, Fantano will be that for somebody else, I'm sure. It is interesting to think like, you know, gatekeepers of things like that. It's like, just let people do what they do.
I tend to agree.
All right. Well, question 4, who's your dream artist or producer to work with?
Ooh, that is a really good question. I think probably the Neptunes would be up there, because they were another artist I was kind of checking out for this music. You know, this kind of like early mid 2000s kind of vibe, like the music my brother was into when we were kids. Yeah, they just like, they do a lot with a little bit, and I'm very inspired by that. Like there aren't like hella instruments stacked on each other in their arrangements. Like, it's very simple. There's like one chord thing and like the drums and then like a bass and then like a lead, and that's really all you need. But just everything is so perfect. Like, you don't need anything else. They are just so good at doing a lot with a little.
That's a virtue, to be able to succinct things down to like the smallest possible thing it can be and have it still hold up.
And circling back to what we were saying earlier about limitations, like, they don't do that because they have limitations. They're producers who are working in these like top of the line like high tech studios, and they have all these options, but they just like have the experience and the know-how to like know exactly what direction to go and what piece of gear to go to. And like, I think that's something that I will unfortunately never have. Like, they always know the right decision to make. It's wild to me.
Sometimes people are just born with that shit. Like, they just have that natural intuition.
Yeah. Maybe next time, maybe in the next life.
Hey, Pharrell's an alien, man. We can't compare ourselves to him.
He is. Dude, what's up with his skin? It's so good.
Yeah, he's like old. He's like 40. I mean, look, no offense, but 40's like 45, and like, he doesn't look 45 at all.
He really doesn't. I was shocked to learn that he was in his 40s.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, he's like at the top of his game now. He's been at the top of his game for forever.
He's never left.
Yeah, exactly. And you're 1 degree of separation from the guy. You played with Maggie Rogers, right?
That's true. Yeah.
And they're like connected.
Did you see that video?
No, I just read
their
that
conversation.
Oh, of them. Yes, I did.
Yeah, Yeah. So I was in the room when that happened. It was very weird.
You were in the room?
Yeah, so it was like a sort of master class at our school. So he was the artist in residence for when I was a senior at NYU. So he was the artist in residence of our department. And then yeah, he had this like surprise kind of master class where he listens to there were a few other students who presented music to him as well.
Mm.
Yeah, that was a really kind of intense, like cool moment to see. Yeah, and with Maggie and knowing her and yeah, it was so cool. Maggie is such a cool, like charismatic, like confident kind of what's the word? Effortless, chill kind of person, but then like to see her get like, oh man, like this is intense. Like I'm having a really intense moment right now, like in front of Pharrell was like, wow.
Whoa. That is, yeah, very intense. That's the perfect word for it. I mean, he's just such a myth to me, like a mythological figure, Pharrell. So for him to be in the room telling you like how good your shit is, I'm sure that would be
Yeah, he
fucking
really
wild.
reacted to it. He really had like a visceral reaction to it.
So crazy. And she, I mean, that's how I heard about her. And the next thing, she puts out is that album and everyone loves it. I liked a few songs. I don't really go back and listen to it too much, but I remember thinking how talented she was, and Pharrell was right. That's cool. You get to
Yeah,
be, in the same fucking space as that.
it was pretty cool. Yeah, and it was a real privilege to play in Maggie's band
Crazy.
and to get to hear some of that music before it came out.
Yeah. Did you get to like pick up any tips from her? Like, did you learn anything just being around her?
That's a good question. I think yeah, I think that she really kind of like inspired me to want to be an artist and to be able to channel my emotions and my story into my art. Because up until that point, I had transferred into that program to be a producer, to be like like a engineer, studio rat kind of dude. It really wasn't until I was close to graduating that I decided I like wanted to write my own songs and learn how to sing. Yeah, and Maggie just does all of that so effortlessly. It's always been such a challenge for me to like get my feelings on paper and to write about stuff and it comes to her so effortlessly, just the sheer like charisma and personality and just flow, creative flow that she has is like so such a thing to witness.
I'm amazed by people who can be so vulnerable in their music because it's not an easy thing at all.
It's really not. Yeah, I struggle with writing lyrics like so much.
Well, I thought you had great lyrics when I was watching like the lyric videos for all the songs. I was like, oh, like you're
You really
very
went in. You really did your research.
dude. Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, man. Especially when it was like last minute. I'm glad you came on kind of last minute for me because I needed to stock up on a few before I go back for Thanksgiving in Atlanta. But yeah, I was going in. I'm like I'm listening to this like all day. I'm gonna watch the videos. But yeah, the
Well,
lyrics are
thank you for
great.
checking it out.
Of course, it was a pleasure. The music's awesome and people need to go listen to it. But I'll ask you one more question and then we'll be out of here. To you, what is a perfect album front to back?
Ooh, I mean, yeah, Blonde is an easy answer, so I'll just
100%.
I'll just say Blonde. I'm just gonna get that out of the way. Perfect. Frank is such a good storyteller. I think he's a perfect artist. I think he doesn't miss. I think every single minute of that album is gold.
Mm-hmm.
He's such an incredible storyteller. He's such an inspiration to me. But that's kind of a pedestrian answer. So I'll take it back to my indie folk phase from like the late 2000s. My less on the radar Perfect 10 album is going to be Vekatamest by Grizzly Bear.
Oh, Grizzly Bear. Okay.
Yeah, dude, that album.
What's the cover? Because I don't know a
It's
lot of
the
Grizzly Bear.
one. I'll grab it here. One sec.
Okay, nice. Oh man, we can keep going, but I'm guessing my card might be almost done. My SD card. I just noticed that. But
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
shoot.
but let's keep going because I'm still recording it on my computer.
Okay. Yeah, sure thing. Um, So yeah, this album.
Yeah. I've seen that
Feck
one.
It's a Mess. I actually don't know how you pronounce it. I don't think they know how to pronounce it either. But yeah, they recorded this in like this big empty mansion. Maybe mansion's a strong word. A large house with a lot of kind of reverberance and creaky floorboards. And it just like the playing is so interesting. Like they're kind of old jazz heads too, and just like their arrangements and their kind of chord vocabulary is so interesting. I love every single thing about this album. I think it's just like such like it's kind of haunting, you know? It's like kind of like some of it is like kind of like scary kind of music. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something more like articulate to say about it than that.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are aware of that album, and you don't have to explain it too much. I've definitely heard a song or two from it, I think, and but I just never listened to it front to back. So I'm gonna have to do that today, probably.
It was my favorite music, or it was my favorite album when I was in high school.
I liked the one that they put out a few years ago.
Yeah, Painted Ruins.
That one, yeah.
I think. Yeah.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, it's a cool record. Yeah, they're really nice dudes too. Like I ran into Ed Drosty on the street one time. I think that's how you say his name, Drosty. And was like, "Oh my god, dude, I'm such a big fan. Like I can't wait for the new album." And he was like really nice to me and like
Aww.
you know, took a picture and was like, "Oh, you sweetheart," and nice.
That's
dude.
cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. Shout out.
Yeah, shout out Ed Drosty, shout out Grizzly Bear. Love it.
Sweet. Well, Andy Campbell, aka Ursae, thanks for coming on the show. On that note, talking with
Thank
me
you.
about your music. Everybody needs to go listen to A Version of You That Doesn't Exist, your newest EP. It's fucking sick.
Available
Seriously,
now.
every song is awesome. And where can everybody find you on Instagram and Twitter and all that?
Twitter, Instagram, I'm gonna be at Ursae, and that's URSAE. Find me there. I'm on TikTok. I just had a TikTok at 100 likes, so you know I'm on the up and up. TikTok,
now,
I think
everybody.
I'm Ursae Music. Yeah, get it now while it's hot before the memes get stale. Ursae Music. Yeah, I pretty much am just on Instagram and Twitter though. So yeah, you can find me there. I'm on Spotify. I'm on the cloud. I'm on Google Drive. I'm on LinkedIn.
He's on it all.
I have all the apps. I'm on Zoom. I'm on YouTube.
We're on Zoom right now.
We're on Zoom right now. We're in the cloud right now. We're not actually talking face to face.
No, we're not. All right, man. Andy Campbell, Ursae, thanks for coming in, and I'll talk to you later, bro.
All right. Thanks so much, Parker. Nice talking to you.